Yo, what is up, YouTube? It is Hatchbase here, and today we are going to be seeing which is the better boot between the Corcoran World War II jump boot or the Redwing 877 8-inch mock toe. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. So we have to compare the costs of these boots. First of all, the cost of the Redwing mock toe here is going to set you back with taxes around $350. That's how much it cost me, almost exactly. The Corcoran 10-inch jump boot is going to cost you about $200 to $220. That's with tax. I bought these 2 years ago. I looked at the price. They are still standing at around the same price. Red Wings changed their price about, I don't know, I think 3 or 4 months ago. So that is the price of both boots. Next up is the leather on each boot. First up, the Red Wing leather comes in a Oro Legacy leather. That is a oil tanned leather, meaning pull up, meaning that when you do this, when you put your finger in there and put pressure on it, the leather lightens up. And what makes it do that is the oils, hence oil tan leather, being already inside of the leather as soon as you put them out or take them out of the box. The Corcoran's leather is a smooth out leather, which is also a smooth finished leather, meaning that it is somewhat like a dress shoe in a sense that you can shine it. You can put your finger and pull it up, and it's not going to do what these do because it's not oiled. It's meant to be shiny. It's harder to shine oil tan leathers. This leather is more abrasion resistant whenever you knock your toe on something or you scrape the side of the boot. It's a lot easier to just rub it out rather than on this boot that if you get a little nick or something on there, you can't just rub your fingers on it and it just go away. So some people would say that this boot is tougher as far as the leather goes, but that's up for you to decide. So let's move on to the next one. So the next thing to look at on these beautiful boots is the soles. This Red Wing right here comes with the wedge sole that Red Wing themselves provides. They make it. It's not a Vibram Christie sole, which many people think. It is actually their own traction tread outsole. They made this boot back in the day in the 1952 specifically, for farmers and hunters. This was supposed to be their sportsman boot, and it was originally called the Red Wing Irish Setter, coming in a reddish leather, because Irish Setters are red, but now it still has the exact same sole. They done that so that way it wouldn't track mud. And it also has really good traction. It's not the it's not the deepest of lugs as far as work boots go, but I will say this boot, this crepe right here, has a lot better grip than what you would give it credit for just by looking at it. It, on top of that, has a complete rubber midsole, which is stitched to the boot by a 360-degree Goodyear welt. That midsole is the only thing that's stitched on, though this isn't, because obviously it would be hard to stitch all the way through that. That would put some strain on a machine. It's also easier to resole because all you have to do is just heat this up, pull that old sole off, stick a new one on, fit it on there, whatever else. On this boot, there is, from what I know, it's called a waffle pattern sole. And the reason being is because if you look at that, it looks like a waffle somewhat. This is held on to a leather midsole by stitches. This is made by hard rubber. It's not going to give in at all, whereas this is way softer. This one will last you longer, but it's not going to have the same amount of shock absorption as this one will. It's not as comfortable, I guess you would say. This does not have a synthetic midsole at all, though. There's little to none synthetics on this, besides the brass tacks that holds it on, 2 layers of stitching right there, and this is a half sole, meaning the rubber only goes halfway up the sole before getting cut off with this leather right here. It has a full rubber heel, which is nailed on to all the way through the insole, And this is held on by a 270-degree Goodyear welt. That's why the nails are right here. Um, so that would be, in my opinion, better quality than what Red Wings would. It just depends on if you care about the synthetic midsole on this one, and which would you rather have? Would you rather have one with no heel whatsoever, or would you rather have one with a heel? This was made during World War II, just so you guys know. This was the 50s, this was the 40s. So this is where the most differences are probably going to come into play. This is the overall build quality of each boot. This is a 10-inch boot, whereas this is a 8-inch boot. The features on this boot is it has a cap toe. All right, that cap toe is an extra piece of leather, a real one, kind of like the Iron Ranger, that goes, it's an actual separate piece of leather that goes on top of this. So if you are like me and you wear your toes out, the toe is going to rub through this eventually, and then there's going to be another piece of leather underneath of that. Same on the heel cup here. This is a full leather heel cup. Underneath that is a leather counter, and underneath that is this layer of leather right here. There is no other lining or anything like that on the inside. There's just your regular piece of leather, the leather counter, and then this. So there's 3 pieces of leather right there, which is amazing results when it comes to ankle support. Um, as far as the insole goes on this boot, this has pour on top of a leather footbed. So, like the Iron Rangers and this pair of boots, this is going to shape to your foot over time. It just has that pour-on foam on there to give it out-of-the-box comfort. And I can attest to that. That is out-of-the-box comfort. As soon as I put these on, they was great. Uh, so, that isn't going to be an issue. Whereas some people with the Red Wings say that it's uncomfortable, and that is because the inside of this does not have any sort of synthetics whatsoever. It's straight up a thick piece of leather, a very thick piece of leather. Underneath that is cork, same as this. Underneath that is cork. Um, the heel cup, if you even really want to call it that on this, is just a thin piece of leather right here. Underneath that is a leather counter, and underneath that is the regular piece of leather right here. Now, many people are going to say this has more protection for your heel due to the heel counter, heel cup, and regular piece of leather right here. There's 3 layers of leather. Now, that is true, but on the rest of the boot, there is no other layers of anything. There's not even cotton or anything like that. It's just full-on leather. Besides this right here, this has a piece of cotton. Now, on the Red Wings, this has a second piece of leather all the way around the boot. Even on the toe itself, there's a separate second piece of leather for the lining. And what people don't understand about that is think of it as a big, huge toe cap that goes all the way around the boot on the inside, because that piece of leather on the inside is just as thick as the piece of leather on the outside. Therefore, if you wore through the boot right here, which is easy to do, a lot of people do that within a few years, there's going to be another piece of leather underneath. So that is something else that you could, think about and ponder about. Now on this has a pull-up strap, boot strap, whatever. You put I can fit 2 fingers through there. Most people can only fit 1 finger, and that helps you get the boot on. This one does not. It does have a piece of leather going all the way up the back, just like this one does. It's just this one has a heel cup. So that will help the boot on this portion stay together. Now, as far as the stitching quality on these boots go, this is going to be a confusing one for most people because this has a triple stitch, meaning 3 stitches, whereas this has a quadruple stitch. Most people would go ahead and assume, oh my gosh, this is going to last longer. But in my opinion, Red Wing's stitch quality is better than Corcoran's stitch quality. And the reason being is because not only is this like a better quality of stitch, but it also has, I don't know if you can see that there, but there's pieces of wax all along that stitching. And that's because as they are stitching this boot together, there is wax, hot wax, that is on those stitches that actually go through and harden over time or whatever, which protects the stitches, whereas corcorans is not that way whatsoever. They do have something here to kind of simulate a rivet. It's a little square piece of stitching right there that helps this part stay right there. As far as the gussets go on this boot, the gusset on the Red Wings goes up just a few centimeters higher. That's not much of a difference. And I know it looks like it goes up way higher, but you've got to think this is a 10-inch boot and this is an 8-inch boot. The gussets are pretty much the same. It's just that Red Wing is missing a couple of inches of length on this boot. So let's go to the next category. So far, corcorans are doing very well. So next up on the list as far as racking points goes would be versatility. Which boot is more versatile? So many people would go ahead and assume that the Red Wing is more versatile because many people use it as an actual work boot, because this boot is actually available in a different leather on their workwear line. It's built the exact same, with the exact same sole and everything, just a different color of leather. So this boot can be worn casually, going to the bar or going to church even, or whatever else you would do casually, as well as going to work. Now, as far as the corcorans go, this, as you remember with the leather, comes with a smooth finished leather, meaning you can shine these babies up. So you could wear these in a somewhat dressy way. It's a casual dress, whereas these I would go ahead and tell you not to, because it's a mock toe. It's not very dressy whatsoever, whereas these, if they aren't all scuffed up like that, you could easily get some brown shoe polish up that toe, and just the boot in general. You can polish all of this. I used to all the time, and wear it out as far as dressiness goes. It's great to use on dates. You can put your pants over it, and it somewhat simulates a dress shoe. You can also use these for work. As I've said, these I used to wear and work in them all the time. I used to weed eat yards and mow yards all the time, and I used to do that in these boots all the time. I'll tell you, this doesn't have as good traction as Red Wings does, but it's still, excuse me, a pretty good amount of traction for what it is. You can also wear these, of course, casually. I used to wear these to church because my dad used to be a preacher. I used to go to church every single Sunday and wear these. I used to go hang out with my friends and do all kinds of things. I went to school in these, and I also used to ride my four-wheeler in them all the time when I used to do that. So these can be used in just about every single situation. It's just you're not going to see a president wearing these on the debate stage because these aren't a dress shoe, as I've stated. As far as more versatility, I would give that to the corcorans. So, what do you guys think? $200 versus $350. We'll just go ahead and say 220 because taxes and all that great stuff that we love doing as Americans. So, what is worth more to you, as far as quality goes? It just depends on what you want in a boot. This is way better as far as all around, wear. You could use these for work. You can use these for just about anything you could possibly want to. I'm just interested to see in what you guys think, because it really just depends on what scenario you would wear these in, which is why I want you to really comment. Tell me which boot do you think is better, and make sure the price is factored in there, and then tell me why it's better. So I'll see you on my next one. Stick around. Please subscribe, like the video, and as I said, comment. I'll see you in the next one.